Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, amma ba'd. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we are continuing with the chapter 5 of the Book of Assistance by Imam Abdullah bin Alawi Al-Haddaad. I first would like to greet you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I truly pray that whatever meanings are encapsulated in this beautiful greeting, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confers all of that upon you and upon us, inshaAllah, ya Rabbil Alameen. So we may have heard the word wird, wazifa, wadha'if, awraad, ratib. We've heard all these words before, and we may be thinking that, well, what do these words mean? So when we talk about a wird or awraad, which is the plural of the word wird, we're referring to a daily practice which needs a fixed time for. Now, as we know, life in general requires planning, right? You can't just live life haphazardly or accidentally, right? Like my one friend always says, "Ons lewe as prins." We live deliberately in the sense that we are heedless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deliberately. We are negligent with regards to our ibadat deliberately. He even mentioned an example that in his family, there are people who do not even possess a single clock, a single watch in the house. Why? Because salah time is not important. So they don't read salah at all. Subhanallah, think about this. Right, so there's not even a watch in your house that you hang on the wall that you can just quickly refer to that is a time for salah yet. Anyway, so a wird is a part of your timetable where you physically allocate a slot for something and make it a daily practice. That's called a wird. It's called a ratib. It's called a wazifa. Wazifa comes from the word sorry, what am I saying? A wazifa is a daily practice that you use to protect yourself, that you use like the morning and evening du'as, the sunnah adhkar, morning and evening, etc. Those are called wadha'if, plural of wazifa. Much like that, awraad, plural of wird. An allocated fixed ibadah that you do daily. Now, I don't want to go into the whole discussion of is it sunnah or is it permissible or is it bid'ah to allocate that's a whole different discussion. And whoever claims that there is no you can't fix a limit to the amount of dhikr that you make. You must just make like indefinite amounts of dhikr. You shouldn't be fixing a time to sit down and make dhikr in a specific way. I'm very sorry. That's a waste of anybody's time because there's way too much evidence to prove the contrary from authentic narration. So I'm not even going to delve into that discussion. Forget about it. Alhamdulillah, you're wrong. Kindly, kindly change your view. Right. That aside, we should allocate fixed times. Now, sadly, I'm going to draw everyone's attention to this one thing. When I said fixed times, allocate slots for everything, did I not say that we need to fix times for our ibadah, fixed times for our dhikr, fixed times for our muraqabah, for our dua? The author is saying we should be fixing times for our mundane activities like drinking, eating, sleeping, earning a livelihood. The rest of our day should be spent in ibadah. And the reason for this is, as Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We have not created jinn or man for any other purpose but our ibadah. We should be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is the primary objective of our life. Eating, sleeping, earning a livelihood, looking after family, those are necessary components of a healthy life, and those are necessary components that we should, give the necessary attention to, so that we can so that we can fulfill our primary objective, not kind of slot our primary objective into the things that we are supposed to do to facilitate that objective. Do you understand? However, because we are weak, especially me, we we do allocate times for our ibadah, and alhamdulillah, that's also a very, very great thing in a time of neglect and heedlessness with regards to the deen and with regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sunnah. So the author says we need to fill up our time with acts of worship so that no moment passes in our day or night without being in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or some form of worship. So in the very least, if you're walking around doing your thing, don't forget Allah. Think about Allah. Talk to Allah in your heart. Make dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very interesting thing I saw yesterday, an old uncle. He has a tasbih in his car. Now, many of us may have the tasbih in his car, but he actually, when he gets in his car, he takes it down and then he starts making dhikr while he's driving. Right? Finger counted tasbeehs are very easy, and a lot of people have found great benefit in the finger counted tasbeeh because it's not a laborious thing that you have to carry around with you. And in fact, let me just digress quickly. My Shaykh, Mullah Abdul Hamid, the principal of Madrasa Arabiya Islamiyya in Azadville, South Africa, he suggested that when we go shopping, take your tasbih out and walk with it here so everyone can see your tasbih. Because why? You're going to become self conscious of the fact that you're walking around with a tasbih in your hand, and your eyes are going to stop wandering, and your heart, you're going to feel very conscious of the fact that people are looking at you with your tasbih. But go for it. And the ladies, please, if your husband is making the effort to control his eyes, then don't go around, yeah, you're just doing that to control your eyes. Obviously, he's doing that to control his eyes. Would you rather him put the tasbih in his pocket and look around? Okay, so let him make that effort, please, and appreciate that effort. Same thing goes for the men. If your wife is making the effort, look, notice the effort and appreciate the effort. If she was making zero effort to reform herself, then there could be a problem. But please, the person who is trying to control his eyes, a person who's trying to control his ears, because he's making the effort, let us appreciate that effort. Allah appreciates that effort. In fact, let us make it a bit simpler for ourselves. We want people to appreciate the effort that we're making, yet we don't offer them that same liberty. Why not? Okay? So, ladies, please, if your husband now decides to take out his tasbih because you heard my lecture and he walks around in the mall like this, don't be like, yeah, you men can't control your eyes. Look at you. If he's making the effort, mashallah, pat him on the back, make dua for him, alhamdulillah. He could have easily left it in his pocket and gone window shopping. Okay, so let us spend, and he says, spending our time in ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, dhikr, whatever the case may be, is what will draw barakah into our lives, something that we're all looking for. And there's a difference, by the way, between barakah and abundance, but that's a lecture for another day. Okay, and it's a means of us fulfilling the purpose of our life and having a meaningful life. We had a lecture about this before, living a meaningful life. Like, I asked the question, and I'm going to ask it again and then move on. What positive contribution do you make to other people's lives? What positive contribution do you make to the world around you? What objective do you think you fulfill? What objective do you have in terms of being a proactive, being a contributing citizen in the world? Think about that one. All right. So then he says, no state can be sound if we're negligent. And just like no wealth can be useful if it is being squandered, if we are heedless, right? So we need to protect our very and most valuable asset, and that is time. Time is the only thing. My teacher said it sounds like a very dangerous thing to say, but it is a reality. If somebody loses his iman, he might still be able to get his iman back. But if somebody squanders and wastes his time, he will never ever get his time back. Think about that. It's very, very important. Your life is like a block of ice melting away. You're never going to be able to make that water that's evaporated off your block of ice, which is your life. You're never going to get that water back onto your ice block. Never. You might be able to delay the melting process. That's through dua and various other avenues of sadaqah, etc. But once it's gone, it's gone. So, Hujjatul Islam, Imam Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala once said, in fact, he wrote in his book, that you should structure your time and arrange your ibadat, your awraad, and assign a function to a set period of time during which you give first priority to that which you have allocated. So, we should be planning our day properly. And in that fixed time, do that which you have planned for the time. Put everything else aside. Okay? We gave this lecture before on Focal Point. It's a book written by Brian Tracy. Very, very interesting book. Effectively, you number very important things. You allocate the alphabet A, and then lesser important things B. Now let's say you've got 5A, 5B, 3C, 2D items on your list. Then look at A and number them 1 to 5 in order of importance. You never do an A2 if you have an A1. You never do a B if you have an A. You never understand what I'm saying? You stick to the highest letter and the highest number. And once that is complete, then we move on to the next one. So there are various ways that we can do this. For instance, and then another thing, Allahu Akbar. But Imam, I don't get time for dhikr. Brother Maf, let me put you in the picture. Like Imam Zakariyya Kandehlawi rahimahullah ta'ala, the author of Fazala A'mal, said, if it was important, you would have allocated time for it. you wouldn't have had to look for time for it. Think about it that way. If it was important, you would have allocated time for it. You wouldn't have had to look for time for it. Like that, he said that if you have time to eat, you have time to make dhikr, because you'd rather feed your soul than feed your body. Because let me put it to you this way: that if you skip a meal to make your dhikr, wallah, tomorrow your nafs is going to make sure you make your dhikr so you don't have to skip your meal. That's how your nafs works. Allahu Akbar. Okay, so brothers and sisters in Islam, and for you to abandon yourself to neglect and purposelessness like cattle do, and then just do whatever occurs to you whenever it happens to occur, most of your time will be wasted, and your life is your time is your life, and your life is your only capital. Wal asr, Allah takes an oath on time, right? That's how important time is. It is the basis of your transactions with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is the means to attain everlasting sa'ada, felicity, right? So, and the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So each of your breaths in a day is a priceless jewel. And when it's gone, it never comes back. So we need to learn effective time management, and not just to make money and to run our businesses, but to earn our akhirah. Because yes, brothers and sisters in Islam, we have to earn our akhirah. Okay, so we should not occupy all our time. This is another very amazing thing. Allahu Akbar. Imam Ibn Ata'illah Shadhili, rahimahullah ta'ala, Ibn Ata'illah Shadhili, one of the great imams of the Shadhili order, he once said that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that we were going to become bored easily, and we are very easily made bored, which is, Allahu Akbar, one of the greatest bounties of Jannah, that nobody will ever be bored. Can you imagine? You will never ever be bored in Jannah. There'll always be something really intriguing, something breathtaking, something exhilarating, something adrenaline inducing to involve yourself in. Allahu Akbar. Ya Allah, Allahumma rizqna al-jannah ya Rabbil Alameen, Allahumma hasibna hisaban yasira. Right? So because Allah knew that we were going to become bored, He allowed us various types of ibadah to do. It's not that we only have to perform salah, that's the only way to get close to Allah, only dhikr, only fasting, only Quran. We need to have a little bit of everything. It's like a buffet, right? Yes, you have your main favorite, right, that you eat at the buffet, but you're going to try and test everything else. You go into a sweet shop. Now imagine I give you a free ticket. You can go to a sweet shop and you can take whatever you want, as many of whatever you want as you want. I love Smarties, right? But I'm not only going to go and take Smarties. I'm going to go take other things too, because I have a free ticket to take whatever I want. Okay? Like that in our lives, we can do as much ibadah as we want. Let us diversify a bit to keep ourselves going. Right? Awraad have a great effect in illuminating the heart and controlling the senses, but those only appear or become established in your lives through perseverance and repetition. So you will only truly notice the effect of the ibadah that you're doing if you do it consistently, right? So in the beginning, it's going to be difficult. Much like they say that if a man is single, and I suppose it applies to ladies as well, if a man is single and he can't find a partner, then let him fast, right? Instead of getting involved in the wrong thing, let him rather fast to weaken his nafs. But if he fasts 3 days, it's not going to do it's not going to do anything. That's going to increase the heat in your body. That's why you have to consistently fast day in, day out for an extended period of time. You physically weaken your body, you physically weaken your nafs, right? That way, you protect yourself, inshallah, and that's the prescription from the hadith, right? So, through perseverance in the fasting, you will see the benefit of that fast. So, like that, let us persevere in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we will see the specific effect of those ibadat in our life, right? And the reason why we allocate specific amounts is not because we feel or we think that it's sunnah or it's necessary, like we already alluded to in the beginning of this lecture. I don't want to get involved, but I'm not interested in that discussion. Okay, you will lose. Okay, so the reason being, we need to ensure that we can actually manage that amount. So if I'm making an indefinite amount of dhikr, today I'm going to become lazy. Tomorrow I'm going to have a lot of energy. So the day after I might not feel so. So there won't be consistency. It's to facilitate consistency, and that is proven from the hadith that khayrul a'mali wa ahabbuha ila إلى الله تعالى أدومها وإن قل أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. The best deeds And the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those that are done consistently, repeatedly, with perseverance, even though it may be a little bit. What does it tell us? Person allocated dhikr and he's consistent with it, a fixed amount that he's consistent with, and even though it's a little bit, so it's quantified. Okay. So it is to make it easier for us to manage. And the author of the book also says, please be moderate. Do not overexert yourself and bite off more than you can chew, because we are human beings at the end of the day and we have lives to live and we have mundane activities to involve ourselves in. So choose a simple wird that you can start off with. Preferably, I'm going to tell you, go to a sheikh, a pious person, a person who you feel is pious, a person who attracts you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you see him, you think about Allah, Jalla Jalalu, ask him, how should I be making dhikr? Please don't come and ask me. Okay, I'm like the last brother can help you with this. Sorry, guys. That's why I also go to other people. So they will then assign a reasonable amount for you, and a reasonable amount, your understanding of reasonable amount and my understanding of reasonable amount might be different, right? But they are experienced in this field. They have seen tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people passing through them and asking them the same advice. So they know and they can judge from the way people are what their abilities are. And they will ask you, what do you do for a living? How much time do you spend at work? What is your schedule like? And they will assist you to allocate your time and how much you should start with, right? So our sheikh, because he knows what a subhanallah person I am, a simple dhikr which he gives to everybody. You can start with this maybe, inshallah, but please do not take this as me giving you the instruction. Go and find out from a authorized sheikh how to do this. Sit down, just La ilaha illallah 100 times, and the name of Allah, Allah with love 100 times a day. Start like that. My ustad also suggested that we add 100 salawat a day. Others have tripled that amount, 300 times La ilaha illallah, 300 Allah, 300 salawat, others 100, 100, 300, but something, okay? And fix a time for it and do not be late. When it's the time for that dhikr, do it. And then my friend, very beloved friend, and a very, very pious, righteous Naqshbandi Sufi, Moulana Ilyas Mauku, told me one day that, Zach, if you were lazy today and you didn't do your dhikr, it's understandable because you're a human being, but don't go to sleep without making any dhikr. Even if you didn't say your La ilaha illallah 100 times, you didn't say Allah, Allah 100 times, you didn't say salawat 100 times, say it at least once each, so at least you did it. ما لا يدرك كله لا يترك كله. If you can't do everything, don't abandon everything either. Do something. Go to sleep having done something. Don't give your nafs the chance to overpower you and not do it. Because if you didn't do it today, tomorrow your nafs is going to say, like, see, you didn't do it last night. Nothing happened. Your breakfast still tasted the same. Your coffee still tasted the same. So what difference does it make to your life? You still earned your same amount of money. You still wore your same clothes. Your wife was still fighting with you. So what difference was there in you making your dhikr? Do you understand? So don't give your nafs that opportunity. Then he says, and choose acts of worship which you are capable of doing. Okay. Now in the past, the scholars, the great ai like for instance Hussein bin Ali radiallahu anhuma, the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they had a regimen of 1,000 rak'ats of extra salah daily, nafil salah. This is now fard salah aside, sunnah salah aside, 1,000 rak'ats of nafil salah during the day. Brothers and sisters in Islam, and we ask ourselves why we can't even read two extra rak'ats. Two extra rak'ats. We're struggling to read we're struggling to read the fard salah. Why? We need to push ourselves. We need to exert ourselves a little bit. So he says usually our optional prayers take the forms of, nafil salah, reciting Quran, learning a bit of deen, making dhikr, making dua, doing muraqabah. And he says we're going to mention some of the awraad of the past, like we mentioned the great imams of the past, like Hussein bin Ali radiallahu anhuma. They did 1,000 rakats a day. Other ulama 500. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal also 1,000 rakats a day. In fact, when he was imprisoned and beaten mercilessly by the guards, and finally when he came to, they asked him they offered him some water. He said, "No, thanks, I'm fasting." Think about that, even in prison. And the whole story of why he was in prison is a whole different story. And then because of the physical beating he had taken, his body had become weakened. So he halved the amount of nafil salah that he would read daily. because he couldn't manage the full amount anymore, so he only did 500 rakats. Ladies and gentle people, think about what I'm saying to you. 50 taraweehs. 50 times taraweeh. You understand what I'm saying? Is 1,000 rakats. It's a lot of salah. It's a lot of salah. May Allah give us tawfiq and understanding. Then he says, the author, that know that our fard salah has an outer and an inward reality. So apart from performing our fard salah correctly, with the correct postures, the correct tajweed at the correct time, that's called iqamatu salah, we also have to work on the spiritual attributes and aspects of salah. And I must tell you that your awraad, your dhikr, your la ilaha illallah, it trains you and it helps you to concentrate so that when you do perform your salah, which is the ultimate ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you are focused. You're able to, I mean, if you are able to concentrate saying La ilaha illallah 100 times, Allah, Allah 100 times, salawat 100 times, all of that with love and feeling and devotion, it's going to be a good 10 minutes. You would be trained enough to focus 10 minutes in your salah comfortably, right? And then he says here, before we conclude, that do not occupy yourself with unspecified, just random optional salah until you have completed the allocated optional salahs. For instance, he gives the example of the witr salah, which is sunnah according to Shafi'i school of thought, but others like the Hanafis contend that it is compulsory, and therefore we should not leave out these sunan mu'akkada, right? Very emphasized sunan or wajib devotions. So like the witr salah, the maximum is 11 rakats, right? But the accepted average is 3 rakats. Hanafis contend it's compulsory to read 3 rakats. So therefore, let us read the 3 rakats. Don't be lazy and read the 1. Read the 3. It is recommended. Do not occupy yourself in tahajjud if you have not read your witr salah. Witr salah, the hadith says, make that the last salah of your night. So yeah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam specifically emphasizing that we should read the witr salah, right? And he says, however, those who have a habit of waking up for tahajjud, they should endeavor to read their witr before fajr time comes in, right? At the end of the night. However, if you are weak like myself and you know that waking up for tahajjud is a very, very serious jihad on your nafs, then make sure you read the witr before you sleep so that you do not miss it. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, by the way, used to do this. Okay? And then he talks about the awabin salah, which is the 6 rakats between Maghrib and Isha, optional after your 3 rakats fard, then it's 2 rakats of sunnah, and thereafter it's going to be 6 rakats of optional salah. Whoever performs these optional salahs, these 6 rakats, without doing anything wrong or saying anything negative or sinning in between, then he will get the reward of 12 years ibadah according to the hadith. Right? We have the Salatul Duha, which is the mid-morning salah after approximately a quarter of the day has passed. There's a hadith that says, every day that you and I wake up, it is necessary for us to give sadaqah on behalf of each of the joints in our body. Now, each joint in our body, by the way, there are 360 joints in the body. How do you give 360 joints worth of sadaqah? He says, every subhanallah is sadaqah. Every time you say la ilaha illallah is sadaqah. Every dhikr you make is a sadaqah. He says, however, 2 rakats of salah performed in the mid-morning will suffice all of the sadaqah that you're supposed to make. May Allah give us tawfiq and understanding that we can read these. Okay? And there's specific reward mentioned for the more you read, for instance, of the Salatul Duha, which is 2 rakats, then 4, 6, 8, up to 20 rakats. Right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and understanding. And again, what we're going to say is, don't overburden yourself. Don't overdo it now, because now, you're feeling very excited. And Imam Zakariyya said, so much dhikr in the day. If you can't manage 100, start with 10 of each. And after a month, double it. Then after a month, double it. Then after another month, make it up to 100. And that way you've comfortably, easily built the habit slowly over 4 months to create that habit of dhikr every day. Make sure you allocate the time for the dhikr. And the dhikr is extremely, extremely important in terms of raising our spirituality, in terms of building our ability to concentrate and reform ourselves. And Allah says in the Quran, وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. After mentioning inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar, salah will stop you from immoral and wrong things. Wala dhikrullahi akbar, but the dhikr of Allah is the greatest. And Allah didn't say the greatest in terms of what. So everybody takes out their reasoning for the greatest, but in terms of spirituality, the dhikr of Allah will boost your spirituality more than anything else, so that when you perform your salah, it is a salah of quality, it's a salah of concentration, it's a salah of focus. And I humbly appeal to all the listeners, and I humbly appeal to the families of the listeners and everybody sitting around. And if you can please ask the little children as well to make dua for me, that Allah can give me the tawfiq to do this properly every day. I also advise, please do ask little children to make dua for you and for me, not only for my Jeep Wrangler, but also for anything that you want, because little children are ma'asoom, they are sinless, so their du'as are readily accepted. I normally ask all the little children to pray for me, and I humbly request the viewers, also the listeners, to please make special du'a for me, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses me and all of us with a life of steadfastness on deen, on the ibadah of worship, and a life of obedience to Allah, a death on iman, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets us leave this world having fulfilled every right that we are supposed to, and not owing any favors to anybody. Please do sit down and first of all, Fard Salah, then your Wajib Salah, then your Sunnah Salah, and thereafter we start allocating our optional Salah. And we have to, before all of that, also allocate time for dhikr daily. And if you can sit together as a family and make this dhikr, even better, that everybody is boosted together. We'll complete that lesson next week. I almost said next time on Dragon Ball Z, but Alhamdulillah, I controlled myself. Jazakum Allahu khaira. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Again, whatever I've said that is correct is from Allah, the barakah of His Rasul, and the great benefit I've derived from my asatida and my teachers. And whatever I've said that is wrong is only from my nafs and shaitan, and me falling prey to his whisperings, and Allah and His Rasul are absolved of it entirely.